a favorable mark on American pop culture. His humble beginnings, enduring work ethic, and sincere performances captured the hearts of audiences worldwide. Garner endured a difficult childhood marked by the early death of his mother and an abusive stepmother, leading him to leave home at a young age. He eventually dropped out of high school and joined the Merchant Marine toward the end of World War II, later serving in the U.S. Army during the Korean War, where he earned 2 Purple Hearts. His military service reflected a real-life bravery and resilience that would later be mirrored in many of the characters he portrayed. He began his acting career in the early 1950s, almost by accident. After a brief stint in modeling, Garner's breakthrough came with the role of Brett Maverick in the hit television series Maverick, 1957 to 1962. Unlike the typical stoic and gunslinging cowboys of the era, Brett Maverick was witty, charming, reluctant to fight, and preferred to outsmart his enemies rather than resort to violence. Garner's performance redefined the Western hero archetype and catapulted him to stardom. His portrayal was so beloved that even after his departure from the original series, the name Maverick remained synonymous with Garner's smooth, sly, and lovable persona. Garner's film career also took off with notable roles in movies such as The Great Escape, 1963, where he starred alongside Steve McQueen, the Americanization of Emily, 1964, with Julie Andrews, and the romantic comedy Move Over, Darling, 1963, with Doris Day. He demonstrated remarkable versatility, seamlessly transitioning from comedy to drama, action to romance. In 1970, he portrayed a serious and complex role in I Never Sang for My Father, earning critical acclaim for his emotionally nuanced performance. One of his most iconic roles came in Murphy's Romance, 1985, opposite Sally Field, which earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor, highlighting the depth and longevity of his talent. However, perhaps the most beloved role of his career was that of Jim Rockford, a laid-back, street-smart private detective in the Rockford Files, 1974 to 1980. This role cemented Garner's legacy in television history. The Rockford Files was groundbreaking, combining action, comedy, and drama in a way that had rarely been done before. Garner's effortless charisma and his portrayal of Rockford as a flawed but lovable everyman resonated deeply with viewers. The show won numerous accolades, including Garner's own Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Drama Series in 1977. Throughout his career, Garner was known for his professionalism and integrity. He often stood up for the rights of actors and fought against unfair practices in Hollywood. He filed a highly publicized lawsuit against Warner Brothers in the 1960s for breach of contract during Maverick, which he won, a rare and courageous move for actors at the time. This advocacy earned him deep respect among his peers and helped pave the way for fairer treatment of talent in the industry. In addition to his acting work, Garner was an active supporter of numerous charitable causes and a committed family man. He was married to Lois Clarke for nearly 6 decades, a rare feat in the entertainment industry, and the couple raised 2 daughters. Garner often shunned the limelight in favor of a quiet home life, preferring to spend time with family or enjoy activities like golf and auto racing. He was also an avid racing enthusiast and co-founded the American International Racing Team in the 1960s, even participating in races himself. Later in life, Garner continued to act, notably starring in films such as Space Cowboys 2000, alongside Clint Eastwood and The Notebook 2004, where his moving portrayal of an elderly man devoted to his ailing wife brought him a new generation of admirers. The film's emotional depth and quiet power showcased Garner's enduring ability to bring grace, dignity, and authenticity to his roles even in his later years. Despite enjoying widespread popularity and being known for his warm, friendly, and sociable demeanor, James Garner was often described by those who knew him personally as an unassuming and grounded man. He carried himself with a quiet humility that belied his Hollywood fame. While his charm and easygoing attitude made him well-liked on film and television sets, Garner was, at his core, a private individual who carefully shielded his personal life from the public eye. He believed strongly in maintaining a boundary between his public persona and his family, and he worked hard to ensure that the attention that came with his celebrity status did not intrude upon his home life. Friends and colleagues frequently noted that, although Garner was always willing to share a laugh or tell a story, he rarely spoke in detail about his private affairs, preferring instead to keep those matters close to his heart. James Garner was married only once in his life to Lois Josephine Fleischman Clarke. Their meeting was the stuff of romantic movies. A chance encounter at a political party in 1956 quickly blossomed into a whirlwind romance. The attraction between the two was instantaneous and intense. Garner often recalled those early days with fondness and a touch of humor. According to him, the couple went out to dinner together every night for 2 straight weeks. We went to dinner every night for 14 nights. I was just absolutely nuts about her, he said in an interview, clearly still enamored decades later. Their courtship was brief but passionate, culminating in their wedding just 16 days after they met, on August 17, 1956. Garner, who was just starting to find his footing in Hollywood, admitted that the modest honeymoon he planned nearly drained his finances. "I spent $77 on our honeymoon, and it about broke me," he quipped, showcasing the kind of down-home humor that made him so beloved by fans. Despite the brevity of their courtship, their marriage would endure for nearly 6 decades. Garner often likened marriage to life in the armed forces, a comparison perhaps influenced by his own military background. "Marriage is like the army," he once said. "Everyone complains, but you'd be surprised at the large number of people who re-enlist." This humorous but telling remark spoke volumes about his philosophy on commitment and perseverance. It also hinted at his wry, realistic view of relationships, that love is not without its trials, but that the rewards of enduring companionship far outweigh the temporary hardships. Garner's wife Lois was of Jewish faith, and while Garner did not convert, he respected and embraced her beliefs. Their household reflected a blend of traditions and values grounded in mutual respect and a shared sense of humor that helped sustain their bond through good times and bad. When James married Lois, he also embraced a new role as a stepfather. Lois had a young daughter from a previous marriage, Kimberly, who was 9 years old at the time and bravely recovering from the effects of polio. Garner accepted the responsibility of helping raise Kimberly without hesitation, treating her as his own and offering her the love and stability of a devoted father. A few years later, James and Lois welcomed a daughter of their own, Greta Gigi Garner, born on January 4, 1958. Gigi would go on to become a singer, writer, and animal rights advocate, and she often spoke of the close and supportive relationships she shared with her father. Garner adored both of his daughters and prioritized his role as a parent, often putting family time ahead of career opportunities whenever possible. James and Lois remained married until his death in 2014, a testament to the strength and resilience of their union. However, their long marriage was not without its challenges. The couple experienced 2 significant periods of separation. The first occurred in 1970 and lasted about 3 months. The second, more substantial separation began in 1979, during the height of Garner's career, and lasted for approximately 2 years. During this time, James lived alone, dividing his time between Canada and a rented house in the San Fernando Valley. Despite the time apart, they never divorced, and their bond ultimately proved unbreakable. In September 1981, James and Lois reunited, reaffirming their commitment to one another and remaining together for the rest of Garner's life. Garner was candid in later interviews about the reasons for their time apart. He consistently emphasized that the separations were not the result of personal or marital discord, but rather due to the mounting pressures of his acting career. By the late 1970s, Garner was the star of the Rockford Files, a role that placed enormous demands on him physically and emotionally. As the lead, he appeared in nearly every scene of the show, and his workload was relentless. Compounding matters, he suffered from chronic pain due to severe arthritis in his knees, as well as from back and neck problems that had plagued him since a serious injury sustained while performing stunts. The physical toll of the show, combined with the studio's pressure and long working hours, eventually became overwhelming. When Garner walked away from the Rockford Files in 1979, it was not because he wanted to leave his family, but because he needed space to recover, mentally, physically, and emotionally. "I just needed to be alone for a while," he later explained. It was a decision driven by necessity, not estrangement. He used this time to rest, to think, and to heal from the exhaustion of constantly being in the spotlight. Eventually, he found his way back, both to acting and to the woman he loved. Their reconciliation in 1981 marked the beginning of a quieter, more balanced phase in Garner's life, one where he continued to work, but also placed even greater emphasis on the importance of family and health. Through all the ups and downs, James Garner's relationship with Lois remained one of deep affection and unwavering loyalty. Their love story, while not without its difficulties, was grounded in friendship, mutual respect, and shared experiences. It is perhaps one of the lesser-known but most enduring legacies of a man who, despite all the glamour of Hollywood, never lost sight of what mattered most: love, family, and living with integrity. James Garner, the iconic actor known for his roles in Maverick and the Rockford Files, has been known for his quiet demeanor off-screen. However, in a rare and candid moment, he has finally broken his silence regarding his relationship with fellow actor Charles Bronson. The two men, both legends of Hollywood, worked together in the film The Great Escape, 1963, and their friendship, or lack thereof, has been the subject of much speculation over the years. For decades, rumors and whispers about the nature of their relationship have circulated. Some reports suggested that the two had an antagonistic dynamic on set, while others claimed they simply didn't get along. In his memoir, The Garner Files, James Garner briefly touched upon his time with Bronson, but his comments were often cryptic, leaving readers wondering what truly transpired between the two. However, in this new interview, Garner offers his most in-depth commentary on the subject yet, providing insights that give a deeper understanding of their complicated relationship. Garner first met Charles Bronson during the filming of The Great Escape. At the time, both actors were still carving their names in the industry, though Garner was already gaining recognition for his roles in television and film. Bronson, on the other hand, had yet to fully break into the leading man status he would later enjoy. Despite this, both men were known for their tough guy personas, and on set, their characters had a clear bond as part of a group of Allied prisoners of war trying to escape a German POW camp. However, behind the scenes, things were less harmonious. Garner recalls that Bronson, while a professional, was a quiet and reserved person, much different from the gregarious and easygoing Garner. This difference in personality led to an atmosphere of awkwardness, with Garner admitting that he often felt a disconnect from Bronson. According to Garner, Bronson wasn't one to engage in small talk, and his intense, stoic demeanor on set contrasted sharply with Garner's more light-hearted and friendly approach. Both men became synonymous with the tough guy image in Hollywood, but the way they approached their personas was vastly different. Garner, known for his roles in Maverick and the Rockford Files, often infused his characters with a sense of humor and charm. He became famous for playing characters who were resourceful and witty, using his intelligence and quick thinking to navigate tough situations. Garner believed that showing vulnerability and humor in the face of adversity made a character more relatable and engaging for audiences. On the other hand, Charles Bronson's characters were the epitome of toughness and stoicism. Known for his roles in gritty action films like Death Wish and The Mechanic, Bronson often portrayed men of few words, with an unyielding resolve and a violent sense of justice. While Garner admired Bronson's dedication to his craft and his portrayal of hard-edged characters, he also believed that Bronson's approach to acting made him somewhat distant, both on and off screen. This stark contrast in their personalities contributed to the tension between the two, with Garner admitting that he sometimes found Bronson's solemnity difficult to relate to. Despite their differences, Garner acknowledges that there was a certain respect between him and Bronson. Both actors had to navigate the same difficult terrain in Hollywood, where their tough guy images were both a blessing and a curse. They faced similar challenges, including the pressure to maintain their public personas and the difficulties of transitioning from television to film. However, Garner admits that there were moments when he saw a more human side of Bronson that wasn't always apparent to the public. In their downtime, when the cameras weren't rolling, Garner recounts a few rare instances where he and Bronson would share stories about their early years in Hollywood. While these moments were few and far between, they offered Garner a glimpse into the man behind the tough exterior. Garner shares that Bronson, for all his quiet intensity, had a sharp wit and a dry sense of humor, but it was often hidden beneath layers of toughness. This made it difficult for people to get to know the real Bronson, and Garner felt that this enigmatic quality was both a source of strength and isolation for his co-star. As their careers progressed, the relationship between Garner and Bronson cooled further. Both men went on to enjoy hugely successful careers, with Bronson becoming one of the most bankable action stars of the 1970s and 1980s, while Garner solidified his place as a beloved television icon. However, it seemed that the initial bond they formed on The Great Escape never fully evolved into a lasting friendship. In his later years, Garner became more reflective, acknowledging that he probably didn't make as much of an effort to bridge the gap between himself and Bronson as he could have. Looking back, Garner admits that he could have tried harder to understand Bronson's inner world, even though their personalities were so fundamentally different. For Garner, the experience with Bronson served as a reminder that sometimes, even in the world of Hollywood, two people can have a deep mutual respect, yet still struggle to form a close personal connection. Ultimately, James Garner's decision to finally speak candidly about his relationship with Charles Bronson sheds light on the complexities of working with someone who was both a peer and a larger-than-life figure. While their personalities may have clashed, and their personal connection was never as deep as some might have hoped, there was always a quiet respect between the two men. Garner's reflections on Bronson are not filled with bitterness or regret, but instead offer a nuanced view of their relationship, one marked by understanding, mutual respect, and the realization that not every bond needs to be a close friendship to be meaningful. In the end, Garner's words serve as a reminder that the relationships between Hollywood legends are not always as glamorous or straightforward as they may appear. Sometimes the toughest men in the industry have the most complex emotional lives, and their stories are far more layered than their on-screen personas suggest. Garner's knees became a chronic problem during the filming of the Rockford Files in the 1970s, with 6 or 7 knee operations during that time. In 2000, he underwent knee replacement surgery for both knees. On April 22, 1988, Garner had quintuple bypass heart surgery. Though he recovered rapidly, he was advised to stop smoking. Garner eventually quit smoking 17 years later in 2005. "My dad had smoked since he was 12 years old," recalled daughter Gigi Garner. Garner underwent surgery on May 11, 2008, following a severe stroke he had suffered 2 days earlier. His prognosis was reported to be very positive. On July 19, 2014, police and rescue personnel were summoned to Garner's Brentwood, Los Angeles home, where they found the actor dead at the age of 86. He had a heart attack caused by coronary artery disease. He had been in poor health since his stroke in 2008,